Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Dave and Ped's AGcellent Adventure. Tonight is an exciting one. So Dave, when we started this, when we first got together and started talking about the show, we decided, you know what we need to do? We need to occasionally feature women that aren't from rural America, that moved back, get their perspective, get their insight on things, see how rural America has influenced them, hopefully mostly positively, but there's probably some negatives. And so as we talked about that and started thinking of people, I said, guest number one has to be someone who I know that you like a lot. I think it's pretty cool.
Yes.
And it just so happens to be your wife.
Yeah.
None other than Kelly Currie, Casey in the house. What's up, Kel?
Hello.
So happy to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I think that your story is awesome and people are going to be fascinated by it and inspired by it. And so I'm just so happy that you're here.
Thanks for having me, Ped.
She's fired up.
She's fired up.
I love it.
There was zero convincing.
Yeah.
There was zero convincing to make this happen.
This will be like an interview with Kelly, but obviously, Dave, you'll probably have some insight too, since you guys are married. And obviously feel free to add into maybe her answers or throw in some questions that maybe I'm missing out on.
Sure.
So Kel, I think to start this off though, we need to know a little bit about you, who you are. Tell us about yourself and how you grew up.
How I grew up.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's see. My dad is a Marine. He's retired, 20
Hoorah.
years. My mom was in the Navy. My sister was in the Coast Guard. Her husband was in the Coast Guard. So everybody's military.
Very military family.
Yeah. So we moved around a lot growing up. I was born in Panama.
Where is Panama? I've heard of the Panama Canal.
Well, if you just keep
Central
going
America.
south, if you
Okay.
just keep going south, eventually you run into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's in Central America?
It's real skinny. Yeah.
Which is between what? North America
North and
Mexico?
South America. No, North and South America.
Yeah,
It's
that's
in
right.
Between
That middle
Central.
part would be
Central.
What a stupid question. Oh my gosh. I don't know geography too well, as you'll find out. So how did your parents meet if one's Marine and one's Navy?
They were just both at the same military base.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yep.
So you grew up as what do they call them?
Military brat?
Yeah, military brats.
Yep.
Is that a bad term though?
I don't care.
Okay. Why do they call them brats though? Just
I don't know.
because I've always heard that. Do you have an answer, Dave? Military brat?
I don't know. Being a very non-military kid or any really even experienced military kids until I met her, I don't have a good answer for that.
I have no idea.
So you grew up, so that means you traveled around a lot. You moved around a lot. And so I'm thinking your siblings, so it's you and a sister?
I have one younger sister.
Okay.
Yep.
So your sister, yourself, your mom, I'm imagining are very patient and very kind people because this is not an easy life. Like, I'm assuming you probably had friendships that you made that you were sad to leave, constantly having to pick up and move around. Like,
Yeah,
what
but
was that like?
Well, at the same time, it was all I ever knew because we moved. We started. I mean, I just always moved. You know, like I was born in Panama. We moved to Virginia when I was 11 months old, and then before I was in kindergarten, we moved again, and then we moved to Maryland when I was in the second grade. So those younger years, the moving. I mean, kids make friends. Oh, I skipped North Carolina.
Oh,
I forgot
yeah.
to say
How long
it.
was that for?
North Carolina?
Yeah.
2 years. That was
Okay.
kindergarten and first grade. Yeah.
So is this like your dad's like getting like constant promotions or just?
No, it's just new assignments.
Okay.
In the military, you have an assignment that I'm going to botch this because I personally have never been in the military. My family's going to be like, you didn't say that right. But they have an assignment for however long, and then they get moved to a new place.
Okay. So what was so you ended up Charleston? Was that for all of high school? Charleston,
No,
South Carolina?
I didn't move to Charleston until I was a junior in high school. So the longest place I lived as a kid was Maryland.
Okay.
Second grade through ninth grade.
Okay.
My dad retired while we were in Maryland.
Was that hard for you? Did you have a lot of close friends that you had to leave?
That move was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was 15
Yeah.
and then we went to Kentucky. I was a sophomore. I didn't know anyone. That's probably the hardest move of my life just because you're a teenager.
13, I feel like 13, 14, 15, you're really starting to like develop some good friendships.
Yeah.
You're old enough where you can like start to connect on a little deeper level, I think, with people.
Yeah. And I had a really solid youth group community in Maryland too.
Awesome.
That was really hard to leave.
Yeah. Well, that's a great transition to what I was going to ask next because I wanted to, because I know that you are a great person of faith. And so did faith play a big role in you trusting the Lord with all these moves and his plan, because you ended up going to college. You ended up with a master's in theology, correct?
Correct.
Baller. Know so much more about the Bible.
The
than
more
I do.
you know, the more you realize you don't know.
That's wise right there. That's something that a wise person with a master's in theology would say.
I never would have come up with that.
So did faith play a big role as you traveled around and did all that? I mean, I imagine knowing that the Lord's with you, that no matter where you go, you're going to have that would be a vital role.
Yeah, for sure.
In your
That
life.
probably that move when I was 15 and we moved to Kentucky when I was a sophomore in high school was when I really had to dig deep in my faith, and I think Scripture became real to me that year because I didn't have any friends. So.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah,
But it was good. It was a growing process, things that it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. It's such a cheesy cliche thing, but
Also true.
it is.
And
Also
your dad
true.
had actually retired from the Marines, and he was actually going to seminary. That's the reason for the move to
Right.
Kentucky.
That wasn't a military
wow.
move.
Right.
Yeah.
So
he
had finished with military.
He was
and
getting his master's in divinity at Southern
Dude,
in
that's
Kentucky.
cool.
Yep. So that's why we were in
If you told me
Kentucky.
that before, I totally did not remember. So that's pretty sweet. Wow.
So really, in the family hierarchy, she's not. No, Master's of Divinity is higher.
Is higher.
Yeah.
Correct.
He can read Greek.
Yeah. Has your dad
I'm putting him on the spot.
has he preached it like occasionally at churches and stuff like that? Has he gone been asked to do sermons?
Oh, very rarely. Yeah. But like he married my sister. He did part of our wedding.
Okay.
He is an ordained minister.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
The Boyds, I think, have a hankering for wanting to just know. You know,
Yeah.
they enjoy learning and obviously learning Scripture is something that's important to them. So why not find out more about it and learn more about it?
Yeah.
So that's been a way I think both of them have learned more.
Awesome. So you graduate from high school. Where did you attend college, and what did you do in college?
What did I do in college?
Because I know you have the master's in theology, but where did you go, and what did you do before that?
I went to Clemson.
Why am I asking this? I knew this. Duh. The
My license plate on my car says Clemson.
Clemson.
in Northwest Iowa.
Clemson, maybe in Iowa.
I can't believe I forgot this.
Yes.
Yeah. I went to Clemson. I stayed in state. So we were in South Carolina for junior, senior of high school. Got in-state tuition at Clemson. Studied communication studies,
Boom.
which got the piece of paper. But
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah, I
Here
did
we are.
public
In Iowa,
relations.
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I did public relations, marketing, communications, all that.
Yeah.
There's the only classes I could do decent at in college because I basically just got to talk and BS my way through
Write
speeches
papers.
and
But look
papers.
at you communicating.
Yeah,
You are communicating.
yeah.
This is what
I
you
fancy
like
myself
to
kind
do.
of good at it too.
Yeah, I would say it has put you in a place where you're using your
I love to talk.
education.
I don't think people always love to listen to me talk, but I love to do it. Fair. I
I'm
you've-
sure. I
think
like
you-
listening to you talk.
I think you've experienced that a time or two.
No. No.
What years did you go to Clemson? Were you there for a
oh,
natty?
you're showing my
No
age.
natty title.
Oh, you were there for any of
No,
the
we were
natties?
not very good. We weren't great. Dabo's first year coaching football was my senior year of college.
Gotcha.
So I started in 2005, graduated in 2009.
I want this pod to get big enough that we get invited to go to a Clemson football game somehow because I know one of the
that'd
co-hosts'
be
wives Clemson.
amazing.
I want to run down that hill before the game and see if I can stay on my feet.
So
All of a sudden, there's a log jam because some random guy's tumbling down the hill.
oh man, I just love the connection. The co-host's wife went to Clemson, so you are running down the
Yeah.
hill. That makes sense. Right in front of Dabo too.
That's how my mind works.
Yeah.
All right, Dad, you ready to do this? Let's take him down the hill,
Go
baby.
touch the rock.
All right, so you go to Clemson, and after that,
Do we need to correct him?
What do you mean? I did go to
It's
Clemson.
Clemson.
you took Clemson.
Clemson.
There's no
Clemson?
Z and there's no P. It's just Clemson. You're both saying it
Clemson.
wrong.
Clemson.
So you got-
I'm saying it wrong too?
Yeah.
Shoot.
So you got down at Clemson.
Clemson.
All right, Clemson. And did you go to? Because you guys met in Colorado.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is that where you went after college? Was Colorado?
Yeah, I'd worked at a Christian summer camp during
Okay.
my summers at Clemson. And then I do put a P in there, don't I?
Yes, you do.
Clemson.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Clemson.
Yeah. So when I graduated college, I had more friends in Colorado than I did in South Carolina. So I
Yeah.
moved to Colorado on my
Boom.
own.
Clamps on, clamps off. The clamper. That's all I can think of now.
There you go.
I don't know what that is.
Clemson.
Clamp
on, clap off the clapper?
Oh,
Just
Well,
ignore my ADD brain.
She may say that she doesn't pronounce it with a P, but it's very clear and recorded now that you do.
we'll talk about Louisville another time.
Yeah.
Louisville.
So how did you and this big stud muffin across the table from me meet?
Christian Mingle
Nice.
online.
See, sometimes I feel like the sites get a bad rap. It's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
We have actually met many people that have met on Christian Mingle.
Yeah.
We actually have
Lots
another
of successful
couple in our
marriages.
small group at church that
Boom.
also met on Christian Mingle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's,
And we met each other within, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe of being on the
yeah.
app.
God had a plan.
He
I
did.
mean, if you want to find someone else who loves the Lord too, you got to kind of
Right.
narrow it down.
Yeah. You can't
It's
just
not like
leave it open
it's not
for
like you
everybody.
meet 10 random people in the street, all 10 of them love Jesus.
That's right.
So we need to narrow this down.
Yeah.
So
and then it's just a best of the best.
Yeah.
You know, then you're, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys meet when you find out this man loves the Lord, is handsome, tall.
So
do you just
handsome
go
and
like
tall.
skipping all the way home? Like, oh my gosh, I think I've met the one.
Yeah, and his voice was a lot deeper than I thought it would be.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. How could you?
I
not
would
be
like to say
smitten
she's
with
made this
man?
comment to me several times, and I don't know if this is maybe food for thought for the people that are online dating currently these days. Don't lie about your height.
Yeah.
Because when you show up and you're shorter than what you said you are, that is a disappointment.
Yeah.
I've never understood people that lie on there because it's instantly going to be the person doesn't want to give you any time of day when they show up.
Right.
And if they're showing up, if your true stats are on there, then you know,
Yeah.
well, they're not in this to be superficial.
Yeah.
Like
So
they're
I
in it
could have
for
said
me.
I was 6'4", which she probably wouldn't know the difference between 6'2" and 6'4", but
But he
I was
had
tall.
6'2", and I showed up and I thought, oh, that's tall.
Yeah.
I think you get 6'2" and a quarter on you.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Because I'm 6'1", probably more like 6 foot and 3/4, but I like to say 6'1". So I'm going to give you 6'2" and a quarter.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
So you guys, how long are you dating before like engagement and stuff? Did you ever visit here before being engaged?
We did.
Okay.
We met in October of 2016 or September.
October 6th. October 6th.
Okay.
We
met.
probably started-
Maybe we started messaging
Yeah.
September.
Yeah.
October of 2016. And then we took a trip out here in April, I think, for the first time, the following April.
Yeah,
It
something
was
like that.
spring because
Yeah.
I remember corn was popping up. Or maybe it was May.
Might have been May.
Doesn't matter. And we were engaged in June.
Okay.
And then we were married by September.
Yeah.
So you come to rural Odebo, Iowa. Not a lot around. What's your initial reaction of visiting the sticks out here in Northwest Iowa?
Oh, that was beautiful. It was
Yeah.
so hilly and it's so green. I remember pulling up to his parents' house right around dinner time, so the sun had not quite set yet. And I kind of looked at him and I was like, this is where you grew up. Because I grew up in concrete
Yeah.
world, suburbia,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah, it's I think it's eye-opening when people are used to calling a flyover state if they've never been there, and a lot of times people assume it's flat and it's agricultural land and there's not a whole lot of beauty, but especially when it's green. Winter can be a stretch.
Yeah.
he did not
Bringing
bring
somebody
me to
here
visit in the winter.
I've done that
Gotta
before.
lock it down before
and
that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you need to bring them when it's green. Yeah. So
What was your what's going through your head, Dave? Are you like super pumped that you're bringing this awesome girl home that you knew like for the first time to Odebo? Are you nervous that she's going to be like, gosh, this is like kind of rednecky? Maybe she won't like me.
No, I don't think so. I'm sure you'd probably met my parents before then already.
We had
I'm
met
sure
them in
they'd-
Colorado
Yeah, I'm sure
once.
they'd come out to Colorado
Yeah.
at some point, and so
If
that
you-
wasn't
if you-
really like
if you meet John and Lori, you're really hoping that this works out.
Yeah.
Great
that's
in-laws.
true. They are great. Great
they're good.
in-laws.
They're good. Yeah, I mean I don't know. It seems like when someone values the beauty of the countryside the same as I do, then that's only a positive, you know? Yeah. Because there is a lack of a lot of other things like shopping and food and, all the commerce.
It's a big culture change.
Yeah. And so if you can find happiness in the beauty that is here, that's a big win.
But there's also a big difference in visiting here and then deciding
Yes.
to live
Very
here.
true.
Because visiting here
Very
is
true.
one thing. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in the country
Yeah.
on vacation.
Yeah.
But to make the decision to move here is a completely different
Yeah, that's a commitment.
jump.
It's probably a good thing, Dave, that you were not a cattle farmer. She comes here in April and sees
man.
all that mud.
Yeah.
It might be game over. Or,
Yeah, you're right.
or at least you're not living here.
Yeah, you're right.
Because who wants to put up with that mud?
I have no comments about mud and cattle farmers. None tonight.
So Dave, he told me because we were talking a little bit about your guys' story in one of our earlier episodes, but he told me that you guys started to like make more frequent, or maybe it wasn't more frequent, but longer trips here when you came for maybe a week or 10 days. So when those trips were happening, was it kind of maybe starting to like move in your heart? Like I could see us here long term.
Yeah, I think we had always talked about potentially moving to Iowa, but the conversation originally was like Des Moines or a more city area of Iowa.
Okay.
And I don't think the thought of actually moving back to the farm was until that harvest we came back for in 2019. After our first daughter had been born, you know, like now we actually have a family, we have kids, and we came back for that harvest. And I think that's when the thought of, oh, maybe we could see our lives here actually on the farm.
Yeah.
What were those conversations like when you guys? Who was the first to bring it up, and like, were you very nervous? I'd like to know, like, should we move here? Should this be our life? Because you didn't grow up with farming.
Yeah.
You knew nothing about it, I assume, at the time.
Zilch.
And so how's that conversation start? Is there like mega nerves, or is there excitement, or how did that go?
I think it was, we're here for harvest, and I think a lot of it was just fueled by our burnout and our current state of life back in Colorado and our career in real estate and spinning on the hamster wheel. And I think we were both kind of looking for an off-ramp, but didn't know what that off-ramp was. And for him to ask me to do this was I don't know if you would have done that, at least not yet, but for like me to bring it up, I think was some freedom for you to be like, yes, actually, I do want this. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah.
So we were here for that harvest, and we were laying in bed, you know, before you go to sleep. And I just said like, so when are we moving to the farm? And he just kind of chuckled.
What's your thought, Dave, when she says that?
Well, I assume she's kind of joking.
Okay.
You know, and I didn't, until I got married, I was just continued to, you know, pursue career and you know, just kind of selfish mindset, was not focused on farming at all and was not focused on moving back here. And so my intent was not to come back and farm. I think when you think about legacy and career and that sort of stuff and how that all ties in to being a dad and a husband, then I think you want something that you can share with your children. And I was like, well, why am I not sharing the thing with my children that my dad could share with me, and that his dad shared with him, and that his, you know, and that seems a little silly and selfish and short-sighted to not understand the value of what the opportunity is here.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that was one thing that your mindset kind of shifts when you start to have a family and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you surprised yourself when you came back and you actually enjoyed farming with your dad during harvest.
Yeah.
I don't think you anticipated liking it.
Yeah. And I think I don't regret doing other career opportunities, because I think that helped me grow in lots of ways, and it helped me gain a lot of skills and knowledge on things that I would not have gotten here, and other life experiences. And I do think, you know, my dad and I butted heads quite a bit growing up, and I think that time and space away was probably a really good thing. Yeah, because we work a lot better. I mean, best friend, we see each other every day, and we do all sorts of stuff together. And so you kind of have to be able to be that way with your dad. And you know this, like you gotta be able to rub shoulders and do all sorts of different things together. And that's probably one of the benefits of like coming back and realizing how much fun it was to work with Dad. Yeah. And understand that it was a joy rather than a burden, which it may have been when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, you know.
Since you weren't already, because where was your family living while you guys were in Colorado?
Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because you weren't like super close proximity to your family, did that make it easier to move here?
Oh yeah. And I've moved. I've moved so many places in my life that I told David when we moved here, the scary thought is actually like the potential to never move again.
Yeah.
Like the thought of, oh man, what if this is the last time I ever move and I die in this house is a weird thought for me because I'm used to getting bored of something and then moving on every few years. So putting down roots is actually the challenge for me.
Like 10, 11 years in Colorado.
Yeah.
And that's the longest you've lived anywhere.
Ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't live in one house, like
You're always moving.
multiple houses in Colorado, but
Yeah, because David, he told me like, man, sometimes you're out in the field, you're dropping calls, because he said you guys came here, you're doing the real estate thing, so he's helping his dad during harvest, but you're also still getting calls about showings and listings and stuff like that, I'm sure. Did you feel like when you came, did you still like do a lot of that while you're here visiting with him, or was it like, I just need to unplug, really soak this in, let it like speak to me, or let the Lord speak to me as like if this is the plan?
No, I was actually overwhelmed with having a baby. So I mean, Jocelyn was
only real estate was like backseat.
Yeah, Jocelyn was 4 or 5 months old when we were here for that harvest, and so I was stuck in the house because I'm useless out in the field. I don't know anything about tractors, so they're not going to put me in a grain cart. And so he's out doing harvest stuff, and I'm just kind of in the house alone with a baby. And
And in our real estate team, I was the front man, right? So the guy that talks to people and
I don't work the phones. David does.
And Kelly was the transaction coordinator. So she handled, once we had a listing under contract or a buyer seller under contract, then she took over and she ran it front to back until basically closing. So when we had our first daughter, then I was kind of like, ooh, this is not my wheelhouse here anymore, And so did we offload all those? Did someone do those for us?
For transaction coordination?
I can't even remember. Or did we just battle through it?
Yeah, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's a blur.
Been pushed far from our mind for intentional reasons.
Doesn't matter now, baby.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were in the midst of a lot of change anyway. And so I think that probably helped a lot.
I was not really working, to answer your question. I was more in like mom mindset by then.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So aside from you guys decided to make the move here. You are officially an Iowan, which is pretty dope. I'm very happy for that. Praise Jesus. But aside from like getting settled into your new house, starting a new routine, what was your main, maybe both of you or just you, Kel, like your main objective? Like, obviously you got to probably start looking into schools, figuring out your routine. But what was like your main objective that you wanted to establish here as a family? If that question makes sense.
Well, tell them about when we moved here.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, what it was like.
We moved it right at the beginning of COVID.
Oh, yeah. Great times.
So it was March 2020.
Moved here and like, well, we're not going to make friends.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. It was, churches weren't doing potlucks. Churches they weren't even hardly doing services. So yeah, finding community was super tough. That was probably priority number one. And when we were deciding whether or not to move here, we made a pros and cons list.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest cons was, not community, but like, how are we or church? Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
We were a little bit, unsure if we were going to be able to find a Bible preaching church here, just because we didn't know.
That is definitely one of the, and I don't mean, I'm not like taking shots, but when you come to rural America, and you're a Christian, that is one of definitely probably on a con list of like, are we going to find?
That's something we thought we had to give up.
Because it's so vital to your life and you want to find a good one. But if you feel like God's calling you to this area, you have to know like, you know what? He'll provide one for us
and he did
do the job.
Yeah.
And
we love our church.
Yeah.
Took us a little while to find it, but we love it.
So this next question I was going to ask, like, did it happen very quickly where you felt like this was home, or was it a longer adjustment? I imagine it was probably because of COVID, a longer adjustment before it was like, this is home. We're in a routine. We're settled in. And if it was longer, maybe like what was the hardest adjustment for you?
It was long. It felt long, and it's hard to know if it felt long because it was COVID or because I was a new mom. My oldest at the time when we moved here was 9 months old, and then I immediately got pregnant again with our second. And so
it was good timing.
there were a lot of life adjustments happening. So moving to rural America was part of the life adjustment, but it also, like, the bigger struggle for me was probably just like figuring out this whole mom life.
Yeah.
And not having friends at the beginning when I moved here.
Yeah. So we originally, we knew we were moving back at some point in the year. And in March, my grandmother passed away. My grandfather had passed away previously, a few months prior.
March of 2020.
And then my grandma passed away in March of 2020. So we came out here for the funeral. And we get out here and we stayed for 3 weeks because of COVID. And rather than moving in here, my parents were building a house. And so they weren't ready to move out of this house yet. And so we moved into my grandmother's house with everything in it. Everything still in it. And so we lived there for 3 months.
Yeah.
3-4 months. And so I was moving back and forth. I was driving back and forth every day for work.
Yeah.
But Kelly, we didn't have internet in the place. We didn't have any TV in the place.
We barely had cell phone coverage because we had T-Mobile at the time. So, like,
and it was COVID.
my phone didn't work.
You couldn't just go meet people at a coffee shop. It was, you couldn't go do anything. And so even coming out here, because you don't really know what's going on, I have, older parents, and you're kind of like, well, what are we going to bring out? What are we going to get somebody sick with? What's going to happen? And so we were locked up. It felt very bizarre. Just as that kind of went on, but it took, that was part of it. It's like, we didn't get settled in a house for 5 months.
Right.
Yeah. And then we moved in with my parents because we were like, we can't do this.
We did. We lived with his parents for like a month or two.
And we were like, get out of here, go to your new house, So it was kind of like, we got to get settled at some point.
It makes me sad for you guys. I wish I could go back and make it better. But
I mean, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
No,
Kelly's like, well, I guess I'll read the Bible again today.
Yeah.
Here in this house.
But at his grandparents' house, when we didn't have internet, like, I don't know if you've ever lived without internet for an extended period of time.
No,
but
thank the Lord I have not.
David would be like, okay, what board game are we going to play tonight? And
it was like
I'm pregnant
camping.
and emotional.
It was like a 3-month camping trip.
Kind of sounds exciting.
She's
in a way.
pregnant. She's pregnant. It was so terrible.
What did you bring me here to?
Yeah, kind of. There was a little bit of that.
Yeah. But once we got settled in this house on the farm,
got a lot better.
And kind of got our routine down. And
I started to hang out with friends and stop being so nervous about all the crazy COVID stuff. Then it got a lot better.
Yeah.
Was there an adjustment that was easy for you, or maybe the easiest adjustment you found to life here compared to life in more urban setting, Colorado? It's probably so different. Maybe there's not an answer for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an easy adjustment because most adjustments are tricky.
Yeah. Probably wasn't.
Anything?
You guys still had each other.
Yeah.
That didn't change.
Yeah.
I mean, this house is great, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't move in. A lot of people move into an old farmhouse and they're like, oh, I want to change this, and this is terrible. But, like, for the most part, this house is incredible. And so I think we feel
you did have a very beautiful home, I must say.
Really blessed to live here.
When my parents moved back in the 80s, they moved in, and I shouldn't say they moved in. They gutted this place down to the studs, added a couple feet on both sides, and turned a 4-square into a quite a bit larger house. And so it hadn't been touched since 87 or 88. I mean, the same carpet is still on the stairs and upstairs as is when I grew up here. And so we've done a few little changes, changed some flooring and done a few things, but otherwise the house hadn't been touched in 35 years.
Our kids are the 6th generation to live in this house.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And every generation seems to do their little thing with it that keeps it going in the right direction, which is a great thing. So, yeah.
So where and when do you think you really started to find your people, your community? And I imagine that has to be a very exciting feeling as you start to like meet people. You're like, oh yay, we're going to have like so many friends and this is cool. And people who are not just people who it's friendships that are like a deep level that we can connect with, that we're going to have an awesome time with. Where and when did you find that, and did that start to happen?
My best friend, I had actually met her at David's friend's wedding that we had come back to visit for. Was that 2017? So before we
It's
moved
just a few
here, we
months before
came
we got
came
married.
back for a wedding, and David introduced me to somebody he went to high school with and his wife. And I remember leaving the wedding thinking, man, they're super fun. I wish you could be friends with them. But they lived here and we lived in Colorado. Well, then we moved to Colorado and they found out and they invited us over. They live 10 miles down the road.
Well, that's
and
awesome.
Yeah, just like and she is not from rural America. She's from the Twin Cities, and then moved here. She was
no
way ahead of me.
transplant.
She moved 8 years before we did.
Yeah.
They got married a lot younger, but
Nice.
so she kind of went through the same thing that I did, and I think my adjustment was quicker and easier than hers was because I had her. She had nobody, but I quickly had someone to be like, what is this rural life, and how
Well,
do I
that's
do
awesome.
this?
Yeah.
So we're besties, and David's really good friends with her husband too. So
Yeah. And there's something to be said about encouraging people that come to the area that aren't from here.
Yeah.
And so she'll have a mom group here where, I don't know, there's 7 or 8, 9 girls that sometimes
do like mom play
will
dates.
come with their kids, and there's probably 5 or 6 of them, maybe
Who are
7
not
of
from
them
here.
that aren't from here. I think that's kind of by design too, is just to give an outlet and some friendship to people that struggle with the same sort of stuff when you
Yeah,
move
absolutely.
to a place where you don't know anybody.
It can be very intimidating, when you're not from here, moving in and being like, well, they already have all their established circles and friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's why, I don't know, it is like a drug for me to meet new people. I love it so much. I want to have thousands of friends. And I hope there's more people like that in small towns, because you build these amazing relationships and like get to know so many cool people from different walks of life, like I have with you and with both of you, through getting to know you guys. And so that takes me to my next question. When did you guys find out about Summit and start coming? Because that has obviously vastly expanded your community here in rural America.
Yep.
Yeah.
Summit is our church,
When did
by
we?
the way.
Yeah, Summit is our church. When did we start going to Summit? I want to say we lived here probably almost a
It would
year.
have been the following February. So February of 21. I think we probably started
Okay.
going to Summit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've kind of known about Summit for a long time because we've had friends that have gone to Summit for a long time. But when I grew up here, we went to a small country Methodist church. So I'd never been really to any other churches other than that one growing up. And so when we came back, we just kind of said, hey, Mom and Dad, we're probably going to go look at some other churches and do a few things, look around, see what we see.
But we
And,
didn't want to necessarily go to Summit because in our heads it was a mega church. We wanted a Bible teaching church, but we wanted it to be a small Bible teaching church. I don't know why. It was this glorified idea we had in our head.
Well, and I think when you come from Colorado, there's a couple kinds of churches. There's your 50 to 100 person ultra traditional church, which is probably dying somewhat, and then there's Flatirons, which is 15,000 people a weekend, and it's tough to find a middle ground, which isn't thousands of people, but also has a close, tight-knit feel where you feel like you're a part of a church that's making decisions together and that's encouraging each other, uplifting each other, and preaching the Bible together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be sure we found a church where we could have accountability too. If you go, the bigger church you go to, the easier it is to fall between the cracks and not have accountability if you don't want
sneak
it.
in, sneak out. And
My
for sure.
assumption was that Summit was a big church and we wouldn't get what we needed there, but that was a grossly wrong assumption.
Do you guys remember some of your first few Sundays there? Like,
Our first one was actually an outdoor one the summer before. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember Doug preaching and thinking, I was right on the money. But we had already started attending a different church in the area. And so we were just kind of giving that one a go for a while.
Sure.
But we eventually came back around and started
Doug,
going to Summit.
He's a rascal for the Bible.
Yeah.
Tell you what, he's a goodie.
Yeah. Did you feel like, like people came up and were like super friendly and talked to us, or did you just leave after your first few Summit experiences thinking like no one came up to talk to us? Like, what the heck?
Well, it was outdoor service and it's COVID. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember Paul Klatt.
Masks.
Yeah. Paul Clapp was for sure one of them that we met. So
I gotta be honest with you. I don't even know how I got to know you guys. I literally have no idea how we all met and became friends.
The only one I remember is Kristen. I remember attending the women's conference, whatever first year that was. And she like kind of pushed her friendship on me. I was like, why does this girl keep talking to me? And I'm glad I'm really, really glad that she did.
We want to have her on here sometime. I want to bring that story up
should
to
be
her.
fun.
Yeah.
She is a very intentional person.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that's also what fuels a good church is people that are intentional with people that they've never met before or never seen before. And I think that's something is striking when people ask good questions. That's one of the other challenges about moving to rural America is that people tend to not ask good questions because they pretty much know everything about everybody already, right? You say, well, this is my wife, Kelly. Yeah, I know. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, makes sense. Probably saw us on Facebook or something, but but just to ask more personal questions and deep questions about where are you from? Yeah. Like, how'd you get here? How'd you meet? There's fun stories to learn about people if you're inquisitive enough to ask good questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where did you attend? But again, I don't think I ever asked you this. When you got your master's in theology, where did you attend to do that?
It was called Golden Gate Baptist Theological Seminary. The name has since changed to something else.
It's Gateway. Okay.
Gateway Seminary. They just had a name change. It's actually out of San Francisco is the main campus, but they had some regional campuses around the country. So one was in Denver.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. So obviously that background with both of you as believers, Summit must have resonated with you in a way. And then you started getting involved. You're on our worship team now. Dave's should be on our worship team, but maybe someday.
He's on the college worship team.
That's right.
College worship team.
I love when the three of us get to play together. But yeah, you guys are really involved now. And I just think that's a testament to trusting the Lord, letting him provide these opportunities. And I have made a promise to you that if I ever feel like you're not worthy enough for a worship team anymore, that I'll let you know.
Yes.
You told me to promise to be honest with you. I think that's years away.
Oh, but don't let me up there if my time is past, Ped.
You're awesome. And I feel you and I have grown a lot closer, I think, because of that. And then us in our social, we are a lot of the same social circles and stuff like that. But yes, I'm very, very glad that I'm sad that it didn't work out at other places, but I'm very glad that Summit is a place that you guys call home now.
Yeah.
Because it puts two cool people in my life. It makes me happy.
It's pretty fun.
Those were like, I have a ton of awesome relationships outside of church, but something about the joy and like excitement you find and just how much fun you have in those like-minded Christian friendships and relationships it's unmatched.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat.
Yeah.
So you have 3 daughters now. What's it like? Do you ever think about what it's like here and what it would have been like there, raising 3 daughters? You just have the coolest little adorable girls here. Values you're trying to instill in them here. Values you think rural America is just naturally instilling into them. What's it been like raising those 3 girls here?
Man, it's so fun having kids on a farm.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they wear shoes outside, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And they kind of know their boundaries around here and they just get to run around and get dirty. And I do a ridiculous amount of laundry because they change clothes 6 times a day. But, you know, I love country girls because I don't know, they're just like, they're finding their own fun. I think that's what that kind of parent I've tried to be, is allowing them to use their imagination and explore and make up their own games and play and within boundaries, obviously, but values. Yeah, I don't, that was probably a big motivation for us moving here, actually, was values we wanted to instill in our kids and just kind of the social dynamic that was changing in Colorado and not wanting to really put them in schools there. But
totally makes sense.
They love church. They love KFC and Sunday school. And yeah,
you guys are pretty awesome kids.
Well, and I think the ability to not overparent our kids is a lot easier when I don't have to worry about them being in the front yard or the backyard so much. You know, like I don't know if I would want my kids in Greeley to just be out in the front yard playing at the age of 4.
Right.
And it's not that Greeley's a terrible place, but there's just more of a chance of something crazy, stupid happening.
Yeah.
And here that's far more unlikely. And I'm confident in it because I grew up here. That's part of it. It's like I know the place front to back without any issues. And so it just brings a lot more confidence to allow them to explore and to be self-led in a lot of things. And, you know, go get your wounds and come back in and we'll fix you up and
we
you
go
go
through
back
a
out
lot
again.
of Band-Aids.
Yeah, go back out again.
That's one of the, like, stories of getting hurt on the farm as a kid are great. It means you had a good childhood.
Yeah.
It means you had a great childhood.
Yeah.
Battle wounds.
Yeah. Obviously, like to an extent, you don't want a bad injury.
Yeah.
But just those, fun things you can get into in the farm, whether you run into a stump or something like that, or fall off a tree, climb in a tree, stuff like that is
Riding your bike into a lawnmower and tearing your ear open. We were in the ER.
That happened this weekend.
Battle wounds.
But it's part of it. It's part of it. Yeah.
So if you don't mind, Kelly, maybe there was probably some positives to the way you grew up, your childhood.
Oh yeah.
But so your daughters are living a very different childhood than you experienced. If you don't I don't think one's better than the other, but maybe compare that a little about how you see what they're getting experience versus you. And there's probably positives of both, like the way you grew up compared to how they're growing up.
Yeah, for sure. Probably a positive here is just the amount of space that they get to romp around versus like what I did. I lived in a neighborhood, and so, I had a little bit of a tighter yard of fenced area I could stay in.
Fence.
But I will also say a benefit of how I grew up was kids in the neighborhood. I mean, my kids don't really have friends to play with unless I bring the friends to them or they see them at school. When I was growing up, I could just go outside or call up, my neighbor, hey, do you want to play? And I had an instant playmate. So, but we have 3 kids and they're each other's playmates.
That's true.
So,
yeah, man, when we talked a couple episodes ago about farm stories growing up, I have so many because all my friends were in town and I had a sister. So I was out. I mean, I feel like that's part of the reason I'm a podcaster is because I just learned to be creative and have my own little one-man show every day out there on the farm with making up games or having home run derbies or 1-versus-1 basketball games with myself and stuff like that. But I do feel like, I'm not saying like the way they're growing up is going to just be like a comfortable life, but I imagine constantly moving around put a lot of dependence and reliance on Christ and on God to like just be like, man, this kind of stinks, but I know I have the Lord and we're constantly moving, but it'll be okay. Versus they're growing up like so much differently. I wonder if like that's gonna, you don't ever want to think it's just gonna help someone like hit cruise control in their faith.
Yeah.
But it's a very vast, like it can happen, I feel like, where you just kind of settle into a routine and life's pretty chill, and it sometimes maybe like might pull your mind off of it. And so that's where you guys like probably step in and help be intentional about stuff you do with them.
I think that's a challenge for us as parents is just to figure out how to give them those diverse life experiences. And we have a friend who says all the time, I love this. He says that he prays for God to let whatever happen in his kid's life that will bring them to know him more and bring him glory, whether those are good things or hard things.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
I love praying that for my kids because a lot of times we want to pray for their protection and their safety when what they really need is maybe an experience that's actually going to draw them closer to the Lord, as hard as that may be.
Big time.
So I don't know what that is, but
That's hard to do as a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, who am I to talk? I'm not a parent, but I have many friends who are parents who have shared with me that that's been the hardest things they've done is like let their kid experience this and maybe try to figure it out a little on their own, or how are they going to grow closer to God through it instead of stepping in and just wanting to like lead them through it and hold their hand through stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
But you guys will do it.
Yeah, they're entering in the stage of wonder and play and development that is going to help shape the way they think, right? In their early formation, 4, 5 through 10, 11, 12, how they think about things, how they reason and problem solve, and how do we encourage them to be very self-led, but also help them be self-led with Scripture as a background and a backbone for why they think certain things. And that's hard.
That's really hard.
It's a really hard thing to do, and
it's hard to do it for yourself as it is, and then to teach it to your kids.
I've learned more about Scripture myself trying just to teach my kids things, because you kind of got to figure it out. And if you haven't studied the Word in depth or tried to memorize things or tried to make it your own, I've been able to make more things my own just from helping them learn verses or do certain things. just even the books of the Bible, like I didn't memorize the books of the Bible until I was 20. I was probably 27 or 8, and then you forget about all of them until then you try and do it again. And then, so we have a song that we all recite. And so, but now I can do it again, And so there's just things like that you try and take with you and
absolutely
relay on to them. Yeah.
I just had an amazing idea. So our extraordinary producer editor over here used to be like the Martin Scorsese of his neighborhood back when he was growing up in Aurelia.
Okay.
With these videos called Johnny Adventures.
Are they on YouTube? Are those still available?
On DVD. We could dig these up, show them to your 3 girls, and they could start their own little like video series out here on the farm.
Yes.
With inspiration from Josiah's Johnny Adventures.
We do have some very dramatic girls.
Yeah, I think the drama won't be an issue. Drama won't be an issue. Whether the producer gets so flustered with how it's going or not, that may be another thing.
Yeah.
I heard that you were a little bit of a crack the whip sort of director.
No matter the age, we're going to do this right. All right. I got some fun questions here to end this. What are some of the things that you love most about living here in rural America?
Ooh.
Maybe like a top 3 or something. Or give me a top 9 if you want. I don't care.
I don't know if this is fun, but one of my favorite things about living here is obscurity.
Yeah.
And like just not having to have my life on display, which this
Welcome
is.
to a podcast.
Yeah, this is weird.
You're welcome.
Goes against the ethos of our family.
Appreciate you trusting me.
But I mean, when we moved out here, I deleted my social media. Like I'm not on Facebook or Instagram or I don't even know what TikTok is.
Yeah. Yeah, you said we have views on TikTok, and I was like,
Oh, I can promise you one thing.
I don't know anything about that.
My social media is filled with our faces. Sorry, buddy.
Well,
What else besides the obscurity?
What do I love about being out here? I love the sights, the corn. I love when there's like a wall of corn around my house in the middle of summer.
you love that until about August, and then you're like, I feel a little bit claustrophobic because it's pretty tall.
Yeah. It's like you're living in a prison here then almost. Surrounded by these walls.
Corn jungle.
Are you
a concrete jungle for a corn jungle?
Do you have bad allergies or at all or anything?
I wouldn't say bad, but my eyes are a little itchy this week.
Yeah, because I don't have allergies, and so I didn't know if like harvest was horrible for you.
No, it's not usually harvest. It's usually like growing season.
Early pollen, flowers from the trees and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, can you think of anything else that might be what you enjoy most? Was it, I don't know, is the cost of living a lot cheaper here than
So much cheaper
than Greeley, Colorado?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably a nice adjustment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just for reference, this would have been in 2013. I was renting a 1-bed, 1-bathroom apartment on a garden floor. So you have to walk down
about 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah. And that apartment then in Boulder, Colorado cost me $1,250 a month.
Wow.
That was then.
That's probably over 2,000 now.
I'm sure. And then I'd lived there for 2 months, and a flood came and took everything I owned.
Oh, that's brutal.
And buried it 4 foot deep.
Sorry.
But yes, aside from that, things are a lot more expensive there.
Yeah.
Houses, just transportation, all the sort of stuff is
You can have
quite
a
bit more
mortgage
expensive.
here and like a nice house for $1,250 a month.
Yeah, for sure.
I have another thing I love about rural America.
Please.
The DMV here.
Oh, yes.
That's a good
Go
one.
on, explain
I
it.
love the Sac County DMV.
That is a great one.
It's in the coolest old building. There's never a line. There's the nicest old ladies who work.
Some are old, some are young.
Sorry, I shouldn't say old. Ladies.
Yeah.
There's usually 1 or 2 of them there, and they say, "Hi, how can I help you?" And you say what you need, and they go, "Sure," and you're out of there in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all.
That has never been my DMV experience anywhere else.
I'll add to that. I've had other people tell me that have moved here that their favorite thing is like the cute little post offices.
Oh, yeah.
And how quickly it moves when they just pop in, do their thing, and leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like a cute little neighborhood post office I got to walk up to.
If you're more than 3 or 4 deep at a post office, it's a bad day.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a bad day.
Also, there's never traffic.
Oh, amen. Unless you're driving on Highway 7 between Elton and Storm Lake while people are going to work.
I don't do that.
It's like 42 mile per hour, and it's
Is that too slow
about-
for you?
42
That's too slow for you?
so
That's too slow?
Talk about testing your patience.
Man, you can't get from the west to the east side of Fort Collins in 30 minutes.
Nope. And it's probably 5 miles deep.
Yeah.
I would not handle traffic well doing that every day.
Yeah, man.
There's just no way.
It's crazy.
All right. Do you miss the food options?
Absolutely.
Of your former life?
1,000%.
'Cause
That's the biggest thing I miss.
I love food. I'd probably consider myself a foodie. And I know that you guys are passionate about food also. Why are you laughing? And I know you guys are passionate about food as well. Was that a tough one?
It was a big con. It was
Yeah.
really big on the con list.
Tell them our what we do with our friend out there in Colorado still with Derek.
Oh, one of our favorite restaurants in Colorado is this place called Cafe Mexicali.
Okay.
Sweet pork burritos with a creamy habanero sauce.
That sounds incredible.
So
It's a
good.
smothered
mouth is
burrito that's
watering.
like this big.
Filled with sweet pork,
Sweet pork.
beans, rice,
Let's do a live pod from
the whole
there.
gamut.
And it's
You don't need to because
Yeah.
we can bring it here.
we
Say what now?
Sometimes we'll go out there and visit friends, and so we take a big cooler, fill it with ice, and we get pounds. We get bulk of the sauce and bulk of the meat, and then we bring it home and we cook our raw tortillas. You make
A
them
little
fresh.
disappointed I haven't been invited to one of these nights.
I'm sorry, this stuff is like gold.
Yeah.
And
I want to share it. You're not
this is
sharing.
not a thing, something
Okay,
that we give
next
away.
time you guys go out, can I send you with like $200 and contribute so that I can get some for me?
I will. You don't need to send money.
We'll
with
make
us.
you a burrito,
I will
Ped.
sacrifice a burrito for you.
My biggest challenge right now is I need to find bigger tortillas because the
Yeah.
only
I was gonna
tortillas
say
we
I
can
could
get out
trade
here
you
are small.
beef for it, but you guys are going to have your
No,
own beef.
we don't. It's pork.
I mean, I'll take a free half a
pork.
cow for a couple of sweet pork burritos if that's what you're thinking.
Oh, I
Let
see
me run
what
the
you're saying.
numbers.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
So we will. So if we go out there, or we have a friend that comes out here often, he'll bring it.
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Hey, bring me this stuff."
Yes.
You know, so he'll bring us out a whole bunch of
Just one time
sweet
before
pork
I
and-
die, I'd like to try this.
Oh, that'll be easy.
All right.
We can do that.
Were you guys like coffee shop people,
Yep.
breweries, I don't know,
Yep.
just whatever it might be?
Yep.
Yeah, you lose a lot of that here.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we have, how far are you from Sioux City? Like 45 minutes?
An
an
hour.
Hour. So yeah,
It's an hour.
It's not
But
like
I-
let's just pick up and go type thing.
No.
Right. Yeah, I miss that. But part of that too was becoming a mom. And even if I was in a city, I can't just like go sit and read at a
Yeah.
coffee shop anymore because I have.
And
Crazy.
also,
Yeah.
if I was to go from Greeley to Fort Collins, it's going to take me 45 minutes to get somewhere anyway. So even back there, you may not be traveling as far of a distance, but traffic restricts you from getting anywhere quickly.
Yeah.
And so 45
Couldn't do
minutes
it.
there, 45 minutes here, like I can get somewhere to get something that I want in an hour. And so it's not that big a deal.
Okay.
But we can't really get takeout. Takeout
But
doesn't really exist here.
Like that,
No, it really
that
doesn't.
last second run to the grocery store to get something that you
Yeah.
forgot that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
call up your old buddy Ped. I'll run over to Storm Lake for you.
And see you in an
Yeah.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put it in my freezer till Sunday. Yeah, that is, I will say, living in Elta is honestly a pretty big luxury compared to a lot of my friends that are like Odebolt or Pomeroy or Sioux Rapids, stuff like that, because it's just a 7-minute drive to Storm Lake for stuff. And you guys really do like have, like, I know the Larsons have told me like they plan their grocery trips for Sundays after church because they're going to be close to Walmart or Hy-Vee or whatever it might be. And that is kind of a bummer for you guys that live out here.
Yeah.
It just takes some planning.
Yeah.
I've actually become a better cook, and my pantry is more well stocked because it has to be. My sister comes out here and she lives in Tampa, so she goes to the grocery store every day, or they eat out. That's really what it is. They just eat out a lot.
Either
But
or.
A lot of my city friends.
she comes out here and I, say, oh, go run out to the fridge in the garage and get, another sour cream. She's like, you have another tub of sour cream? I'm like, yeah, it's my second pantry. And she's like, I'm just going to go to the grocery store in the garage.
So what are some of your favorite quote unquote Iowan foods you've been introduced to?
Ooh, favorite? I mean, sweet corn,
Oh yeah.
for sure.
The king. Sweet corn.
Can
is
I say
king.
one that I don't like?
Please.
Oh, just don't.
Wait, are you going to annoy me?
Pork burgers.
What's wrong with you?
I just don't
Pork burgers
like,
are amazing.
given the option of a pork burger or a beef burger.
They're both awesome.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. They.
You shouldn't put barbecue sauce on a burger. And they're always dry.
You need, okay, first of all,
There's some inter-family turmoil.
I need to
if
take
you
a
can't
deep
tell.
breath. I need to take a deep breath. I'm getting fired up. You need to try Newell Locker pork burgers. So moist, and they like infuse them with this barbecue sauce. It's a secret recipe they won't tell. I'm telling you, you got to try it.
All right,
just
I'll
for
try
me,
it.
try it, please. I'll bring some. That's where I always take my pigs when I buy them. I'll bring some here.
Okay.
All right. That pork burger takes pretty wild, I got to say. Wasn't expecting that when I came here tonight.
Hey, this is her pod. I'm just along for the ride.
Did you have Scotcheroos before Iowa?
No, I did not.
What do you think of those?
They're okay. I think there's.
Oh my gosh.
I love this.
It's kind of like the restaurant scene out here. Like it's the best that they have, and they just don't know what the elevated game is like.
No.
Well,
And
I guess
so,
when I got out there and tried other stuff, I might agree. But man, I do. For me, it's like, what can beat a Scotcheroo? I love this. What about? I know you guys are big fans of La Juanitas.
Oh, yeah.
Lawas, we've recently.
Yeah, we just said that.
Yeah, because there's the Storm Lake, which is 20 minutes or 30 minutes from you guys, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like there's authentic Mexican food everywhere because of the culture there.
Yep, love Lawas.
So that's nice. Storm Lake is like I have made so many friends at Summit over the years that moved here. They almost always leave me and rip my heart out, which stinks. But they always say like the food scene in Storm Lake has like helped them a lot when they came from a city because they could get authentic Mexican. There's a couple Asian places that are pretty good, and they thought they were just moving to a place where it was just going to be like greasy diners and stuff.
Yes.
Like, oh, there was actually like good stuff here that
Yeah.
we could go out to eat, and it's not like Chicago or L.A. or something, but it'll get the job done.
It does. It gets the job done. That's
Yeah.
right. And you got to dig for it a little bit.
Yeah.
Some of them are kind of a hole in the wall that you
Yeah.
don't know about right away. We didn't know Lawas for the first 3.5 years we lived here, probably.
Yeah,
So
right on.
you got to search for it, but you can find it.
Does it get annoying? I marvel at so many of the people from our church with their commitment to driving. Does it get annoying how much you have to drive for church stuff?
I don't know that I drive any more here than I did elsewhere. Because like David was saying, it may not have been as great of a distance, but you had traffic to deal with. So you
Okay.
still had to give yourself, it only takes us
Yeah.
30 minutes to get to church.
26 minutes.
26 minutes. And that's probably about what it took various places that we've
Yeah.
lived before.
Yeah, it's
So
not
on.
that big a deal.
I just like Timothy team, like you guys that
There are some people that drive a lot further than us.
Right.
You
You're
guys
like,
get there at 5:45. I'm like, man, they did get up and leave so early. You guys come to church, you drive home, you're back at church 2 hours later to drop your kids off at a rehearsal for something, pick them up, come home. Like, who knows if it's going to be like that. Plus, like, then back again for youth group in the future and stuff like that. I just always am impressed by the dedication of so much of our church body that's not from right there in Alta.
I think what they value is principled biblical teaching that's clear and bold and compassionate and humble, and it goes to show that's why people will drive a long ways for it.
there's lots of families that drive hours upon hours every week for sports for their kids. And
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll have our kids in sports, but like prioritizing church is not even a second thought for us.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, it's a good.
That's
That's a
important.
good comparison.
Nice. I have two more questions here. Who's your favorite person to be on a worship team with?
Adam, I know you want me to say you, and I do love
I
serving
want
with
you
you.
to be honest.
Honestly, my favorite person is, and he doesn't serve on the Sunday morning worship team, but for college worship nights would be my husband, David. And
melts my soul.
really
My
that's
face too.
because
It melts my soul.
I actually think that we harmonize really well together.
You guys do.
Just
I've witnessed
our
it many times.
ranges,
That's good.
and it's fun to be able to practice at home. And
Yeah. You don't have to answer an actual answer if you don't want. I just was saying more as a joke.
that is my actual answer.
Okay.
My
what
husband.
about a non-cheating husband answer?
Come on.
Just kidding. You don't have to
I'm
answer
reveling
that.
in this right now.
I'll just pick a top 5 in my head. And look at all the space out here. Do you guys ever want cows?
No,
You should
no.
get cows.
That would be no. Let's just
Turn
leave it
this
no.
beautiful farm into a mud hole.
Mud
You don't want
mess.
that? You can have them like a quarter mile away where you like drive a side by side to the cattle yard to do
I think
chores
we
and stuff.
we also still value travel, and as soon as you throw
out the
cattle
window.
into the mix, you
Yeah.
can't
Goodbye.
go anywhere.
Yeah,
This is true. I've experienced this my whole life.
yeah.
My dad we've done one vacation ever. My dad had skipped a family vacation because he didn't think he could be away from the cows for a week when I was young. It's the only 2 we've ever done it as a family. And I really like to travel, and I want to see so many places that I haven't because of them freaking cows.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I got a buddy now who can maybe do chores for me, so that could be changing.
Lock it down, man. Lock it down.
Yep.
You got to get out. You got to go.
So
Cattle life is good right now.
yeah,
So
it's very good.
make sure that
It's nice to be diversified.
Yes.
Right now, I am very happy to have cows. Yes.
Yes.
I'll just leave it at that.
It's a good thing.
All right, that's all I got. Josiah, anything you want to say? I can relay it through the mic if you have any questions. Josiah with a salute. Dave, any comments you want to make?
No, I'm thankful that she was willing to come on and just share a little bit of what it's like to come here and not be from here. And, and there's so many people that are that have been in similar situations that they can band together and learn a lot from each other from this sort of stuff. So no, it's great. And I think it goes for a lot of different sorts of rural places, right? There's always rough periods of acclimation. But when you find friends that you can connect with on a level, on a scriptural level, on a biblical level, on a church level, that is, that's a really encouraging thing to people. And so, I'm proud of her. She's done really well adjusting.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. I am incredibly thankful. So many people write off rural America. They think there's going to be nothing to do there. I'm going to be bored to tears. There's going to be no fun. Sounds like the first 3 months were maybe a little bit like that.
That was extenuating circumstances.
But I think it's the people that are fun, no matter where you are. So
the people make the place.
Just because it's rural America, maybe the population density is less. But I think that the relationships that we do have are really solid in quality.
Right on.
And that's what makes it worth living here. Yes, the landscape is beautiful, and yes, we get to raise our kids in a 6th generation farmhouse, but we wouldn't still be here if the people weren't worth it. So
yeah,
I am incredibly thankful that you took a trip or took a chance on rural Iowa. I'm also very thankful that you came back with a farmer, because I have made way too many friends at Summit over the years that have eventually left me. Too many to count, and it makes me sad. And I once our former youth pastor left and his wife moved to Florida, I told our church administrator, I said, I'm done meeting new people. Never doing it again.
And then you met us.
They all leave me. But then I met you guys, and I was like, well, she's married to a farmer, so chances are they're sticking around.
They're not going anywhere.
At least until you retire and move to Tahiti or something. Who knows?
Probably Florida.
There you go. Probably Florida. But then we'll all be retired.
Just a second home in Florida.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this, Cal. I love you guys so much. You guys are awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Very valued friends in my life. And let's just hope it stays that way for years to come.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. We'll see you guys next time on Dave and Ped's AGcellent Adventure.